Hello, everybody. What's going on? My name is Joseph. I'm going to be your low budget host of the day. And today I got a very interesting topic or new topic I want to discuss. It's going to be part of a new series where I discuss the presidential election of 1936. Now, I've always found this election to be very interesting given the individuals who ran in the primaries on both sides. So I will discuss one of those interesting individuals, and then I will discuss the two main candidates who ran in that election. So please remember to like, share, subscribe to this channel, and let's just get straight into this. So first candidate I want to talk about is Huey Long. Now, if you don't know anything about Huey Long, the guy was governor of Louisiana during the 1920s. He was known for being a very, very harsh but very effective governor. He was progressive in the way that he operated. He wanted to fund education. He funded LSU, which his biggest contribution to LSU, which I found out earlier today, was that he wrote their fight song, which I think is kind of cool. They still play it. Touchdown to LSU. So that's a cool factoid you can have about him. But one of the main things he was known for being whenever he was governor was targeting corporations and also trying to improve the infrastructure during the Great Depression. He had to restructure the tax system to do so, and this, of course, shifted the burden from the poor to large businesses and the state's wealthiest citizens. This, of course, incurred the wrath of individual companies such as Standard Oil. Which, if you don't know what Standard Oil is, Standard Oil was a major oil conglomeration owned by the Rockefellers. And of course this monopoly was started in the mid 1800s, and its legacy lived on into basically the 1930s, whenever it finally started getting hit hard enough that it had to split up. It was forced to split up in the early 1900s, and then they really started to split up in the 1930s when other companies began to overtake them. But anyways, they still had a lot of political power in the late 1920s, and to prove that, they attempted to get Huey Long impeached for trying to tax them too hard. This did not work. Huey Long was smart enough to evade this impeachment, but it was a nice attempt from Standard Oil. Now, what Huey Long is mostly known for is one, setting the first initial record for the filibuster as a senator in 1935. And then the other thing he's known for was running against Franklin Roosevelt in 1936. So this is from his website. So what I'm about to read is from his website. It is very fruity. I will give you that warning, and I will correct things if I find something that's a little off, or I will give you some context. But overall, I'm just going to read this. Huey Long was poised to run for president in the 1936 election against Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He had risen to national prominence with his Share Our Wealth program, which swept the nation as the Great Depression worsened. Meanwhile, FDR adopted some of Huey's ideas in order to steal Long's thunder, while simultaneously moving to discredit him. By 1935, Huey's Share Our Wealth Society had over 7.5 million members in 27,000 clubs across the country. Long's Senate office was flooded with thousands of letters daily, prompting him to hire 32 typists who worked around the clock to respond to fan mail as the nation's third most photographed man after FDR and celebrity aviator Charles Lindbergh. Long was recognized from coast to coast simply as Huey. One of national poll found Huey to be the most attractive man in America ahead of Tarzan. Wow, that's funny. I like that. And look at a picture of the guy. I can kind of see it. He has a very John Goodman-esque body type, so um, that's usually what I think of. When I think of Huey Long, I think of John Goodman when it comes to presence, but not in character. Continuing. To Roosevelt, however, Huey was one of the two most dangerous men in America. The other was General Douglas MacArthur. Why am I not surprised that Douglas MacArthur was another one of his enemies? Roosevelt sought to undercut Huey's clout by putting Huey's enemies in charge of federal spending and patronage in Louisiana. He ordered unproductive investigations, by the Internal Revenue Service and the FBI into Huey's finances and other dealings. Huey was also the subject of the first nationwide political poll used by the Roosevelt campaign to assess how great a threat a Long candidacy would be to the president's reelection. According to the Democratic National Committee chairman, James Farley, Huey was pulling up to 6 million popular votes, and his appeal was nationwide. FDR also moved to deflate Long's appeal by incorporating some of Huey's ideas as a part of the Second New Deal, a more liberal version of his Great Depression reforms. For example, the Social Security system reflected Huey's proposal for old age pensions. The Works Progress Administration mirrored public works programs begun by Long in Louisiana, and the National Youth Administration reflected his student financial aid proposal. Other initiatives championed by Long and implemented by FDR included the National Labor Relations Board, rights of unions to organize, minimum wage and 40-hour work week, the Public Utility Holding Company Act, regulation of public utilities, and the Farm Security Administration, assistance to farmers, and the Wealth Tax Act, graduated income and inheritance tax. Basically, FDR stole a lot of ideas from Huey Long. That is what this is saying. I don't know if I actually completely believe that, given that FDR also was inspired by a lot of progressive era ideas, which were touting the exact same things. FDR was also trained by a bit more socialistic individuals. I don't remember who off the top of my head, but what I do know about FDR and his brother Theodore Roosevelt was that they both were populists. They both believed in the populist idea. It's just Franklin Roosevelt was not as libertarian as Theodore Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt truly believed that the government had to fix the ills of society, and that is what this is talking about. Now, I do believe that some of FDR's ideas were definitely inspired by a lot of what Long was doing, but I think that a lot of his ideas also had roots prior to Long becoming governor in Louisiana. Now, the other thing I find kind of interesting about this is what happened to Long midway through his run in the primary. So, as this mentioned, the FBI investigated Long for tax issues. I find this kind of funny because current political environment, we have issues with the FBI investigating former presidential candidates for things they actually did not do. Yes, I am referring to the Mar-a-Lago raid. And it's kind of funny that that stuff also was happening back in the 30s too. So, just saying, history sometimes does repeat itself. But what happened to Huey Long in 1936? Why didn't he win? He was obviously very popular. Well, the answer to that question was what happened to him in 1935. By 1935, tensions ran high in Louisiana as rumors of multiple plots to assassinate Huey Long swirled around the capital. Huey's consolidation of personal power led to talk of armed insurrection by his enemies. On September 8th, Huey Long was shot by a relative of a political enemy in the state capital. He died 2 days later at the age of 42. News of Huey's death made headlines around the world, and an estimated 200,000 mourners flocked to Baton Rouge to pay their respects. Basically, in short, Huey never actually got to run in the primary. Sorry, I had to psych you guys out a little bit with this, but what had essentially happened was Huey was assassinated, but we don't know why he got assassinated. There are a lot of theories on why he got assassinated by this particular individual, but basically it was chalked down to being somebody who was just crazy and shot and killed him. And I don't know what it would have looked like if he had ran against FDR. My theory is that he might have actually beat FDR because FDR was not that popular with farmers. He was also not that popular with certain people in Louisiana at the time. which is why he felt the need to investigate Huey Long in the first place. I'm sure FDR would not have felt the need to investigate the individual if he did not pose a threat, which he clearly did. Other than that, I mean, speculation is not within the realm of a historian. I mean, you want to speculate, but at the same time, you got to be careful with speculation. What Huey Long would have been like as president, I think he would have been hampered by the Republican government, just like Republican held government, just like FDR was, which is not always a bad thing. FDR's programs greatly grew the government to extreme degrees that we are still dealing with to this day. FDR's government also did not fix the Depression, but I will explain more about that in the next video. So, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching. Bye.